We are recording. Hello, everybody. This is Haley Lynn Gray with the Alchemy of Successful Online Marketing Summit, and I am so excited to be here with you today. I have got a phenomenal expert lined up for you. This is Lauren Clemett, and she is an award-winning personal branding specialist, and boy, do we have a treat for you. At 8 years old, Lauren was told that she had word blindness and would never be able to read or write properly. Yet she went on to become a 5-time best-selling author and international Stevie Award-winning neurobranding expert. She worked within world-leading advertising agencies and now owns her own global consultancy using her dyslexia disability as her greatest asset to help professional service providers understand how the brain sees brands, sharing her insight into how the consumer's mind works to provide the clarity and direction needed to package a standout personal brand. She was recently awarded International Women in Business Entrepreneur of the Year at the prestigious Stevie Awards and speaks at international conferences and events, providing masterclasses and workshops for the finance, travel, real estate, business services, coaching, and wellness industries. Welcome, Lauren. I am so glad to have you here. It is such an honor.
It's exciting to be here. Thank you, Haley. And I can't wait to share some really cool gems that people can go and take action on straight away.
Awesome. Thank you. Lead it away. It's all yours.
Cool. Thank you. Well, Haley, what an introduction. Thank you so much. And there's just an example of some of the agencies I work with. I don't know why they had such strange names. Saatchi & Saatchi, of course, is a global brand, as is Clemett and Ogilvy and so on. I was also very, very privileged to work with AXA, which is an international finance and insurance and superannuation company, and I ran my own agencies for a number of years, which was really exciting. But yes, as you say, now the Ultimate Business Propeller is my international consultancy, and I've been working in personal branding probably close to 8 years now, which has been a real journey for me. And one thing I'd like to assure people with, it actually took me 4 years to create my own personal brand. So I know that it takes time. I know that it's not simple, and I know that if you get the steps right, you're away. But 4 years was a long time for me. It's lucky for me I can look at other people's brands from the outside in and help them a lot quicker. But it is something that people need to work on, so I know what it feels like. The Ultimate Business Propeller Authority Rocket Program, as Haley mentioned, has recently won some international awards with the Stevie Awards. I'm very proud of that. We've got a really interesting way of teaching people how to understand what's going on inside the brain of your ideal client, whether you're working with them live or online. The human brain is such an interesting tool that you need to really understand it. So we've won some awards recently for that neurobranding work. I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of that today in the time that we have together. As Haley said, I'm also a best-selling author. You can grab a copy of Selling You on Amazon if you want to. It's there to help people guide them. It's a guidebook. It's not a novel. It's not a work of fiction. It's a guidebook that you can be happy to draw in and write in and fold the pages over and highlight text and all sorts of things. Often I get people send me photographs of the book completely destroyed almost with notes and things in it. So it's there for you to help you really focus on your personal brand and what it is that you want to be well known, well paid and wanted for. So you're welcome to go and grab a copy of that. But the interesting story, as Haley mentioned, was that back in 1980, this is my actual school report, I was told that I had something called word blindness, which of course was dyslexia. And my teacher basically said to me, you're never going to really get to grips with this stuff the same way that the other children are, which sounds like a mean thing to do, but he knew that I would do anything he told me I couldn't do. It's my personality. And by the end of the time I spent at that school, he wrote this on the bottom of my report, which still gives me goosebumps today. If I had a class full of Laurens, there's no limit as to how far we could get in the program that he had for teaching kids how to read and love language, which is really cool. The nicest thing about having a disability like dyslexia is that it does give you a certain grounding, and hopefully people are enjoying my joke on this slide. It's something that you live with, something that you're born with, and I'm sure each and every one of us have things that we're not particularly good at. And I would encourage you to think about understanding that they are actually assets. They're not disabilities, because my dyslexia actually enabled me to be really, really good at brand management. I was able to form an image of these brands in my brain. Here's just a sample of some of the brands I've worked with over the years. But my dyslexia actually gave me that ability, that asset that people saw in me later on as a brand manager, to be able to keep brands consistent, to make sure the colours were correct, to do all those sorts of things as a production manager working in advertising agencies. That was a little bit like an insurance policy. So it's exactly the same way that I learned how to remember the shape and the look of words in my brain in order to help me spell. I used that later on in life as an asset. So, so do think about that when you are considering putting yourself out there online, marketing yourself or your business or your services or your products. What are the things that you don't do particularly well? Because they can become your greatest asset. They can become the things that you actually are challenged with that make you best at what you are doing. So today I'm going to focus really specifically on a particular area of personal branding to do with online marketing. So this is one of the biggest problems that I see currently for people who are trying to get themselves out there online. And it is overwhelm. Most people say to me, what channel should I be using? How often should I be posting during the day? What sort of stuff should I be putting on there? And there's a real overwhelm. You know, apparently every 12 seconds a tweet dies. You know, you need to be posting on Facebook 14 times a day. You need to be on LinkedIn. You need to be on Snapchat. You need to have a blog. You need to have a vlog. You need to be podcasting. It's just so overwhelming. So in the presentation I have for you today, which is only short, I'm going to give you some steps to help you really clarify what it is you should be doing online, how much of the time you should be spending on there, what channels you should be using, and so on, to just make it easy for you so that you don't get overwhelmed and you don't end up doing what I call WOFTAM marketing, WOFTAM. It stands for waste of flipping time and money. And we really don't have a lot of time and money, especially if you're starting up your own business, or if you're in business for yourself, or you've got an online business that's just really getting going. You don't have endless time and endless budget to spend on making mistakes. So let's avoid that WOFTAM marketing, and let's find our way through and make it really easy for you to make sure you're making the most of your marketing. So let's put this in perspective. The internet is currently just over 30 years old in terms of its real usability. It's older than that. It was used for other things in universities and so on, but in the terms of the globe using the internet, back in 1995, 96, there were about 16 million people using the internet. Today, that's closer to about 3.8 billion. So about half the population of the planet currently use the internet on a regular basis. So there's still half the population that aren't using it, guys. So it's really, really interesting that it's gone from 16 million to 3.8 billion in that period of about 30 years. To put that in perspective, the TV, when it was about the same age, when it was turning about 30 years old, had only just decided to move from black and white to colour. So if you think about the internet in terms of that, we are still only at baby step stage. We're still only moving from the black and white era of the internet to the colour era of the internet. So there's a huge amount more development that's going to take place. And unfortunately, that means that overwhelm that you're feeling potentially is going to get worse. So it's really, really important that you take the steps now to really define what is it you're trying to achieve online, and exactly the steps you're going to take to do that. Otherwise, you will just end up doing what I call that WOFTAM marketing. You just will end up being so overwhelmed, you'll waste your time and money, and then you'll end up really not getting to where you need to get to, and it'll just be far too confusing. So the other thing that's happening is not only our own confusion and our own overwhelm with what do I post, what time of day do I post, how often should I be on there, all those sorts of things, is your consumer is also overwhelmed. They are absolutely bombarded with information. So back in the 1970s, it was estimated that the human brain was seeing about 500 branded messages a day. Today, that's closer to 5,000. So we are constantly bombarded with messages and people trying to sell stuff to us online and connect with us online and engage with us. So this is a real problem. You've got not only the people trying to create the marketing are also overwhelmed with what they should do, but your audience is completely flooded. They're trying to drink from a fire hydrant. And it's really, really difficult to cut through. So with all that confusion going on, there are a few really important steps you need to think about. It's really not been any more vital than right now to understand how the human brain works. So chances are, and this is the biggest problem I see with most people who are starting to get their businesses going online, is that you've learned a little bit about online marketing. Maybe you know something about a product that you've made. You might have created a program or a course. You've got some expertise, but chances are no one ever taught you consumer behavior. No one ever stopped and said to you, hey, have you ever thought about how the human brain works, so that when you market your services or your product or your program or whatever it is, your books or whatever, you understand how the human brain is going to process that. So I know I learned consumer behavior. It was one of my favorite topics when I was studying for my advanced diploma in marketing management. I loved to figure out, why does somebody buy from that person instead of buying from that person? Why, when they go into the supermarket, do they buy that product off the shelf and not that one over there? Why do they choose to download this person's, guidebook or product or cheat sheet or whatever it is, and yet there's another one over here that's almost exactly the same, but they didn't choose that one? Why? Why does it happen? So today I'm going to share with you a bit of insight into what goes on inside the consumer's brain to help you out with your marketing and with getting people to not only connect with you, but to convert into sales. Because in reality, much as our world has changed, much as there's been this absolute flood of information, this growth in terms of the use of the internet and the content that's on the internet available to people, and the accessibility that people have now on their mobile phones and everywhere else, the human brain hasn't changed. So our world has become flooded, but the human brain still operates in exactly the same way. It still makes purchase decisions in the same way it did well and truly before the internet even existed, before TV existed. So that's one key thing I want you to make a note of. Write that down. The human brain makes the same purchase decisions the same way it did decades ago. It's just now there's a lot more information available for people to make those decisions, and they can buy from you anywhere in the world. They can get delivery faster. All those sorts of things have changed. But the human brain has not changed in the way that it makes purchase decisions. It's vital that you understand that. So how does the brain make purchase decisions? Well, interestingly enough, it makes purchase decisions with memory and emotion. It doesn't buy based on fact, and we know that. The human brain buys based on emotion, and it retains the memory of how it felt last time it bought something or last time it made a certain decision to do things. Your brain is incredibly run on hormones and emotions and all sorts of fabulous chemicals like dopamine and opiates and things that flow through it all the time. And there's also a really interesting part of the brain, which I'm going to talk about today, called your fear center, that helps you make these decisions. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the moment. But please remember this. The human brain makes purchase decisions based on emotion. And then it might quantify that with fact. So ladies, if you're listening, that's the brand new pair of shoes that looks absolutely gorgeous and will go beautifully with that latest dress you bought, or that handbag you've got, or whatever. Make your legs look gorgeous. They're going to feel so good when you put them on. You're going to look so good. And by the way, for the husband, they were on sale. So that's the whole idea, yeah? You buy based on emotion and you justify it with fact. So the lovely Maya Angelou, of course, understood this. If you're reading of her works and so on, she's just an amazing person. And she said, people don't remember you by what you said. They don't remember what you did, but they remember how you made them feel. So just think about that. How do you want to make people feel when they're visiting your website, when they're coming and booking a webinar with you, when they're buying from your product page, when they're downloading a book, whatever? How do you want to make them feel? Is it excited? Is it concerned and they need to go ahead and take that step in order to get rid of the fear? Is it that they are overwhelmed and they need your help? So how do you want to make them feel? So there's a part of the brain called the amygdala. As I said before, it's a really interesting part of the brain called the amygdala, and it's your fear center. It stops you from making bad decisions, and it will instantly tap into memory of stuff that didn't work so well before and say, oh, that hurt you last time, or you lost money last time, or whatever. Don't go there. Don't trust that. Maybe you had a bad experience with somebody buying something from them online. It didn't turn up, whatever else. So there's that bad feeling that you have, back to emotions. So you want to make sure that it's a fantastic experience for people. So it's really vital. You think about that. Amazon, of course, have got that nailed, and they work very, very hard on the customer experience. So have a think about the human brain in terms of the fear that your customer might have and how you can alleviate that fear, either with money back guarantees or great communication with autoresponders or follow-up emails. Did you receive the package, and so on. I just want to check that you got that course okay. How are you going with it? You know, what else can you do to alleviate that fear center and work on that memory and emotion part of it? So here's a couple of action steps that you can take. I'm going to give you a couple of these. The first one is becoming a pro. Now, most people, when they're selling services or selling product online, they talk about the problem that you might have. So they might talk about, you know, you don't have enough clients, or you need more money, or you need to manifest some love in your life, or whatever it is, the service or the product or the program that you're selling. You talk about the problem that people have. And that's important because people are thinking about the problem. They're not thinking about the solution because they don't know what that is yet. So that's the P of pro. Yeah, got to talk about the problem. It's important. Then you talk about the resolution. So this is what my program can do for you. Here's some case studies. Here's some testimonials. Here's some examples. Here's some before and after photographs. Whatever it is, here's the resolution that you can get when you work with me, or when you buy my product, or when you download my guidebook, and so on. So problem resolution. The issue is most people stop there. And it's really important that you don't stop there. It's important that you go to the outcome, which is the O of pro. So this is about painting a picture of the outcome for people. So yes, talk about the problem. Yes, talk about how you can resolve it. But most importantly, for the human brain, paint a picture of the outcome. How is this going to change their life? How is this going to transform their day? What's going to happen to them once they've purchased your product or service? It's really, really vital because the human brain thinks in pictures. It doesn't think in words. And I'm going to prove that to you. I'm going to get you just to stop for a minute, put your pens down, and just concentrate a little bit on a couple of words I'm going to give you, and let your brain process these words. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions about them and just test what's happening to prove to you that your brain thinks in pictures. It doesn't think in words. So pens down. The two words I'm going to give you to think about are bacon and eggs. So just let your brain think about those words, bacon and eggs. Now, some people see a pig and a chicken when I say these words, but most people see this. Most people see this. What did you see? Did you see a couple of rashers of bacon? Did you see scrambled eggs or poached eggs? Or was there toast? Was there a cup of coffee involved? It's interesting, isn't it? Your brain painted a picture of breakfast. And yet I didn't tell you anything. I didn't tell you that the bacon and eggs were cooked. I didn't tell you whether there were 2 eggs or 1 egg. I didn't tell you how they were cooked, whether they're on a plate or whatever. Your brain did that. And it did it in milliseconds. It painted the picture. So your brain doesn't work in words. It works in pictures. So when you're marketing online especially, paint a picture of the outcome. Use before and afters. Use testimonials. Use case studies. Show images of people once they've used the service or the product. What is their life like? Really paint the picture of the outcome for your clients. It's so vital, and it works so well with the human brain in terms of encouraging it to make a purchase decision. So hopefully you had a bit of fun with that exercise. Very quickly, I'm going to share with you a little bit of insight into neurobranding as well, because this is the second thing that can really help you when you're converting people online and connecting with them and engaging with them in terms of instant connection. So neurobranding is the study of how the brain sees brands. And as I said before, it sees them with memory and emotion, but you can also play with some subconscious or subliminal marketing that can come through your branding. And it can come through with the colors that you use. Colors actually have a physiological effect on the body and on the brain. You can also use that with space and with shape, as you saw with the bacon and eggs. You can paint the picture of the outcome for people. And I'm going to give you an example of that so that you can understand how this might work for your business. So this is a brand that everybody knows. It's a global brand. And I often ask people when I do workshops and when I'm speaking, what do FedEx do? And most people will say, well, they're a logistics company, they ship stuff. And I say, okay, so what do they do differently to their competitors? Why would you use FedEx compared to somebody else? And the answer normally is, well, they're really quick. They get the product straight from here to there. It doesn't end up going all around the country. If I want to get it there as fast as possible, and I know it's going to get to the destination, I'll use FedEx. And then I say to everybody, okay, that's fantastic. How many of you have actually used FedEx? And you'd be surprised. Hardly any of them have actually used FedEx's services, but they say this. They say this is what happens when you use FedEx. So how do they know? How do they know that that's the case? If they've never used the service, how on earth would they know that? And it's all to do with neurobranding. This logo is telling your brain that this is a company that can get your product to the destination as fast as possible. And if you look down, unfortunately my mouse doesn't work on the screen, but if you look down in between the E and the X at the end, the orange E and the X, look quite closely, there's actually a white arrow in between the E and the X. If you look at the empty space, you'll see a large white arrow hidden in this brand. So there's a neuro branding message that's coming through to your brain that this is a company that's going to get something from here to there, one direction, as fast as possible. There's also some cool stuff going on with the colors, the purple of service and the orange of energy. So there's some beautiful things going on in terms of the neuro branding with this brand. So it hasn't been done by accident. FedEx created this brand knowing that's what it would do. So there's an interesting story for you. Hopefully you're all seeing the arrow in there. And this is giving you some insight as to what you can do. So you can use images and color and shapes and all sorts of things on your branding and in your marketing to help you talk to the human brain instantaneously and get that branding message across. So the next thing that I'd like to share with you is we've now looked a little bit into the brain of your consumer. I'd like to look into your brain a little bit more as well. Now, chances are, if you have started your own business and you are online marketing your services or your products or your programs or your books or whatever it is that you have, you're an entrepreneur. And I love entrepreneurs. They're amazing people. They do incredible things and they've got incredible brains. So when you became an entrepreneur and you started this thing up, whether it was a part-time hobby thing or a full-time job, whatever you're doing with it, your brain probably said to you at the time, I'm really a little bit scared about this. And you said to your own brain, it's going to be okay. I know there's lots I've got to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you've overcome that fear center, that amygdala in your own brain. The issue that you have with that is you've opened your brain up to lots of opportunities. You're less fearful of failure and you're more open to opportunity as an entrepreneur. And the issue that you have, especially with online marketing, is you end up having bright, shiny object-itis. And you try to be everything to everyone. And you will end up really not getting very far at all. You've got to be really clear on what it is you want to be well known for, especially online when you've got to cut through all those 5,000 branded messages that people are seeing. Because if you don't do that, if you don't manage your bright, shiny object-itis, you will end up with FOMO, the fear of missing out. Now, Christmas time, a couple of years ago, this business card came through my letterbox, and I always use it as an example of someone who's trying to be everything to everyone and not achieving anything. So this is a cheap man in Ute High. You can see all of the things that he does there, down to pet feeding and animal transport and rock and roll stuff, music and jumpy castles and all those limousine hire, you name it. He's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all holidays. Now, chances are this guy's not making a lot of money. Yeah, chances are he's even called himself cheap. He's got a hell of a life. He's working all the hours God sends and not making much money. What if he just chose to mow lawns dressed as Elvis? You know, people would pay to see that. He'd get on the news. I would pay for that, and I don't even have a lawn. So this is the thing I'd like to get through to you in this point is just choose to do one or two things really, really well, rather than trying to be everything to everyone. Don't try to add too many products or services. Don't try to add a million different programs. Just do one or two things really, really well. And you'll become more well known for that, and you'll be paid more because you're seen as the specialist. Also, don't try to help every Mary in the dairy. It's a lovely old New Zealand saying coming from where I grew up. Don't try to help everybody. Helping every Mary in the dairy will just exhaust you. Really think about your target audience and be pinpoint accurate with exactly who it is that you want to connect with and engage with and help. And there's only three things you need to think about when you think about target audience. We haven't got a huge amount of time to go through it today, so I'm going to go through it really quickly. Think about their demographics, which is really where they are at the stage of their life. Do they have kids? Have their kids grown up? Are they still at university? What's going on in their life stage? Where are they at? Also think about their psychographics. What do they think about? What's their lifestyle like? What era did they grow up in? What's their attitude towards your services and your products? And lastly, think about the how, their personal communication style. How do they want to be communicated with? A really quick way to check this, if you wanted to do this, is if you've got a website and it talks about us, if you've got your About Us page, and on there, all it talks about is you and your experience and your expertise and so on, and it has nothing in there about how you help people, you're probably doing it wrong. So really think about your target audience, get really clear on what stage in their life are they at, what are their values and their beliefs, what era did they grow up in that's formed these opinions that they have, and how do they like to be communicated with? Are they into discounts? Are they into guarantees? Is it more important that they know that the product is going to work? All those sorts of things to really think about. Do they just want results? Do they just want it to be fun? So really think about how they want to be communicated with. So lastly, I'm going to give you a couple of tips, a couple of real quick tips to help you make sure that when you're online, when you're marketing your business, when you're marketing your services, your product or your programs, you're not being overwhelmed. Here's a quick formula for you. Most people say to me, look, I've got to post lots of content. What should I be putting out there? So I've built my program, or I've built my platform on my website. Now, how do I get people there? How do I drive traffic? How do I get people going to my website to buy from me? So here's an authority formula that I have used, and I teach it myself, for people who want to be seen as the go-to specialist or the person online in order to go in and get hold of our products or services. And it's a quick formula. These are percentages. So if you want to write these down, go for your life, the 30-30-30-10 rule. So over the time that you spend putting content online, getting out there on social media and trying to drag people into your funnel or whatever you're doing, only 30% of the time should you talk about yourself. Not half the time, certainly not 100% of the time. Only 30%. So every 3 in 10 is about us. And that includes sales. That includes, here's my book, here's my program, whatever. Only 30%. And we know this. When you look online, you see people marketing themselves. If you see them constantly talking about themselves and this is what we've got this week for you and so on, you just switch off. No one likes to be sold to. So only 30% of the time you talk about yourself and your products and your services and what you have and your program and so on. 30% of the time you should be talking about news. Now, if you talk about news to do with your industry, I don't mean, you know, some royal is getting married or you know, some Hollywood actress has done something or whatever. Unless that's part of your business, unless you're selling something to do with becoming a celebrity, that would make sense. News about your industry is so vital to post because it shows people that you are up with the play. It shows people that you are right at the coalface of your industry. So make sure you share what's going on. Three of your 10 posts or 30% of your posts online should be news from your industry, informing people of what's going on. 30% info, and info is really important. That's you giving some good content away. That's giving people tips or tools, the 3 ways to save money, the 4 ways to get more clients, the 6 ways you can get a better job, whatever it is. 30% of it, give away some really good tips, some insights, some tools. That tells people that you're incredibly generous. And what would happen, you're giving this away for free. What would happen if I bought your course? Oh my goodness, I'd get so much more. So really important to do that. And the last 10%, in case you hadn't already guessed, is fun. Fun and inspiration. These are the posts that people tend to share. They go a little bit viral. So there you go, 30% about yourself, 30% news, 30% information, and 10% fun. That is an authority formula that you can use to post content online, knowing it's going to connect and engage with people. If you're stuck with where to get news from, a lot of people might have gone, oh my goodness, I haven't got time to go out there and search for news. Go to google.com/alerts, set up those alerts in your Gmail inbox. If you don't already know how to do this, it's really simple, so that you've got a flood of news coming into your Gmail inbox all the time, and you can just share that news rather than have to go and find it all the time. So that's a really quick shortcut you can take to post up-to-date news about your industry. So the message I'd like to leave you with today is remembering, if content is king, and a lot of people talk about this, you've got to get content out there, content is king. If that's the king, then engagement is the Queen of Hearts. So it's all very important and great to get content out there, but don't just throw it out to the masses. Think about how to engage the human brain inside your prospect's mind. What's going on in there? How do you paint the picture of the outcome? How do you engage with them? How do you create an emotion? How do you make it really clear that you're there to help them? Engagement really is the Queen of Hearts. So hopefully I've given you some direction there. Hayley, I have a bit of an offer coming up which I'd like to share with people. I don't know whether you want to ask me any questions before I do that.
No, please share your offer and your download, and that'd be awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you. I know I've gone pretty quickly through this because we don't have a lot of time, and I'm sorry if I've gone very fast. Hopefully you've taken some notes. So the Authority Rocket program is available online. I'll just quickly run through those things. They're all available there for you. If you want to work more on your personal brand, if you looked at this and went, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming, I need to figure out what my brand's all about, it's available online. You can go to the Authority Rocket program, ultimatebusinesspropeller.com, and you can get into that. It's available online, and I've got everything in there to do with neuro branding, how to understand those messages, what colors to use, your ideal client, all those things are all in there for you. But today I wanted to get you started for free, because a lot of things happen when you come to these sorts of online summits. One of them is you make lots of notes, you make lots of friends, and you get lots of information. But also, a lot of the time, it all gets written down and it feels fantastic, and you get all excited about what you're going to do, and then life happens. So you don't end up doing stuff and it just sits on the shelf and you never get round to it. So I want you to take action, because unless you take action, nothing happens. So I've got something called the Personal Brand Magnet, and it really is a really cool video tutorial around how to engage with the human brain and to find that WIFM. I don't know if you've heard about the WIFM. It's really important, especially when you're doing online marketing, the what's in it for me. So you might have all these credentials, you might have amazing content, you might have awesome things to share, but unless you point out and really talk about what's in it for your target audience, what's in it for them, it really isn't going to engage or connect. So there's a free video tutorial there. It's called the Brand Magnet. And if you click on the link that's there for you, you can get started straight away in that. There's also a guidebook in there that you can download. It's a transcription of the video tutorials that we have, but it's there for you for free. So, because I really want you to get started. I don't want you to be overwhelmed any longer. I don't want you to end up doing that waft-dam marketing and wasting all your time and money on stuff that doesn't work. What I want for you is to get really clear on what you're trying to achieve online, what you want to stand out and be well known and well paid for being the best for, and how to get those conversion rates up, that people actually want what you've got. They don't just need it, they want it. So grab a copy of the Personal Brand Magnet, the book that's there, but also the video tutorial. It's not too long, it's about 10 minutes, but it gives you a real insight into how you can really engage with the human brain. And it talks about a couple of things that people are doing wrong and gives you some examples of what you can do to get it right. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Hayley, I hope everybody's enjoyed that, and that they grab their brand magnet and get rocketing.
Yeah. And so if somebody wanted to find you online, where would they go about finding you?
They can search for me online. It's really easy, actually. ultimatebusinesspropeller.com, of course. If you type in my name, Lauren Clemett, you will actually find me all over the internet, because I've got books and all sorts of things that I've written. But ultimatebusinesspropeller.com is probably the easiest place to go. I've also got some really interesting insight into neuro branding on that website, and personal branding, and some other things you can do to get started as well. And really make it simple. Make it really simple for yourself, rather than being completely overwhelmed with too much information.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Hayley. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that's not been too much in one session for people. And I do hope that they just get going and really stand out, because chances are you've got something awesome. You've got something amazing that people need, and you just need to get it out there.
Awesome. Thank you.